Welcome back. If you joined us for our last episode, this is a State Teacher podcast, and my name is Girmay Alazar, also known as Coach G. So today I have two special guests. I have Michael and William, and they are currently both students at University of Pittsburgh, and I've had both students in my classroom. And I'm so excited to interview them today because the first time I met both of them in my classroom, immediately what I noticed is that how passionate they were about uh, uh, learning and teaching, specifically to becoming a teacher. So they just caught my attention immediately. In case you're wondering, like, hey, why did you invite Michael and William? I'm not saying the other students did not, but when I say Michael and William caught my attention, I'm talking about like consistently, not just once or twice, but regularly throughout the class. They just came to me, asked questions, and then they were just passionate about this work. So I can't wait for you to meet them here, and they're going to introduce themselves here and just tell you a little bit about themselves. But before we get started, for structure purposes, I have a framework that I use, Roots, ROOTS, and or as teachers, we like to simplify things, and this is the way I want to frame this podcast, so we all know the structure of this. So again, a reminder for Roots: what does it stand for? And for State Teacher Podcast, the Roots, the R stands for the first one is for reasons. Why did you decide to become a teacher? And the next one is O, and we're going to talk about obstacles, the doubt, the challenges that teachers face. And the next O is overcame or overcome. And those moments that kept you moving forward. And the next one, which I love, is the T, which is transformation. And this is who you becoming, or who are you becoming as a process of this. And lastly is the S, which is stay, and why this podcast exists, or just why this podcast is all about. So those are the frameworks we're going to use. And I'm going to ask questions using this framework. And but before we do that, I want you guys to hear from Michael and William. Michael and William, thank you for joining me. And we'll start with Michael. Michael, go ahead and just introduce yourself. Tell us what stage you are in your coursework on your teaching journey.
Yeah, so my name's Michael Pallone. I'm a student at the University of Pittsburgh, like Coach G mentioned. I'm a rising junior, currently working with children right now in a capacity for my first time, right? Well, not first time, but first time in a structured teaching capacity. I'm originally from Harrisburg, and like I mentioned, studying at the University of Pittsburgh. And I'm looking forward to, the future in my career, working with children and making an impact on the community.
Thank you, William. Thank you, Michael. We'll go to William.
I'm William Powell. I'm also I'm a rising senior at University of Pittsburgh. Feeling old saying that, but I'm going into my student teaching next semester. This summer I am working at Breakthrough Collaborative of Greater Philadelphia, which is at Germantown Friends School. And I'm working as a teaching fellow, and I'm basically teaching a seventh grade math class, and it's a lot, but I love it, and it's making me realize more and more that this is the field for me. So a lot is happening in my life right now. Um, but yeah, I'm very happy and everything's great.
Great. Thank you so much again. So thank you for that quick introduction. So we're just going to jump right in. The first one is, and I'm sure both of you remember this. I did this in my classroom. This is kind of that Y activity we did, if you remember. But this is for structure, for purposes. We're going to talk about roots framework. So the first one is reasons. So we'll start with Michael. Michael, go ahead and just tell us why you decided to become a teacher. Specifically, take me back, not just in college, but maybe go further than that. Why did you first get the feeling, or maybe just, teeny feeling that this field, this teaching field is the path for you?
Yeah, so to dive into some reasons, I mean, for me, education is all about community and bringing the school together with the town, making sure that the kids have opportunities and that they're able to overcome obstacles that they have in lives. Because ultimately, the classroom is the extension of home. We're with the kids for, 40 hours a week, essentially, 8 hours a day for 5 days. A big reason that got me into this was kind of looking back on something that happened in my life. When I was in elementary school, specifically kindergarten, I lost my mom to cancer. I was only 6 years old, and the school really came together with the community and really helped me overcome the obstacle in my life that could have potentially held me back. And they only drove me forward. They only made me stronger. They only did more to get me past the obstacle. And I believe that I can go into this field working with specifically early childhood students, so from K to 6, and help them overcome the obstacles of transitioning into becoming a young adult, and help them get over issues that they might have, encountered throughout their, childhood lives.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that story about your mother. That's That's pretty powerful. Well, same question for you, William.
Absolutely. I would say I definitely have my interest in teaching has increased throughout the years. So I would say, I mean, when I was younger, I didn't know what I wanted to be and I wasn't sure. And I went to school and I was pretty undecided. I definitely admired my elementary school teachers most growing up because of the sense of community they established. But I found that in my middle school and high school, I didn't really get much of that because it was a lot of curriculum based and test based stuff. So I didn't really get a lot of community stuff. So I felt that that was lacking. And I feel like I fell out of love with education, but then when I returned, where I went to Pitt and started to realize, take education classes and realize, oh my, I love this. I love this. And then when I started to expose myself to more settings working with kids, I was like, wow, this is my future. And I would say that the more I take classes on education and the more I expose myself to scenarios like I explained that I'm in this summer, the more I realize that I picked the right thing.
Thank you so much. I'm curious about this question, and I want to put it out there to see if you have any kind of stories or maybe have a specific teacher. Look back, maybe think back when you were elementary, middle school, or high school, even in college. Were there a specific teacher or teachers that actually made you like think, huh, I love that teacher and I want to be like her or him? Any story like that? We can go back to you, William, and then we'll go to Michael.
Yes, absolutely. Immediately comes to mind. So a professor at University of Pittsburgh teaches a methods class, and like methods, if you're not familiar, it's just like it was social studies methods. So it was like how to teach social studies at a K through 5 level. In this class, not only was this person such an amazing role model for me, I absolutely admired how much that this person was able to balance working K through 5 and also be a professor. And that's something that I have honestly considered um, because I don't mean to, I spoke to the National Teacher of the Year, Leon Smith, recently at Breakthrough Collaborative. And we were talking about college education, and he was talking about how he's not a fan of methods classes. And I was explaining to him about this professor and how inspiring this person was for me, and how much they developed one small aspect that I thought improved me so much as a teacher is lesson planning. And this whole entire class was about making your own lesson, but not only just making it because we made our own, but then we made one that we actually performed with people that or students that were acting like students in that grade. And that was probably the most valuable educational experience I've had so far. Um, Actually getting to see a lesson and adapting it in real time, it just felt so real. So I'm very thankful for that person and I admire that work.
Great, thank you. What about you, Michael? Any specific teachers that just when you look back, you're like, wow, that's it right there. That teacher.
Yeah, so I've had a couple of those throughout my time. I'd like to reference because I'm going to work with early childhood. I'm going to reference or not elementary school teacher I had, and then I'm going to reference a professor I had at the University of Pittsburgh. For this elementary school teacher, that person really, it was like, wow, they care. They made the extra effort. Emailed my dad at home, is he okay? Is he doing okay? Emailed multiple other kids' parents, made sure they were okay. Really took care of the community, made sure that every student had an equal opportunity in the classroom. And a lot of that, I call it like the hidden curriculum, right? You don't really see this. This isn't explicitly said. And the hidden curriculum that this teacher displayed was wonderful. And it was just super powerful. And it makes you look back on it now that I'm an adult. And I say, wow, the extra effort they took was really, really, really special. To reference this university professor I had, he was just extremely, proactive about his work. Really set out a good classroom standard, made sure that the standards were defined in the classroom, made sure that everyone understood, why they were there, that everyone was there for a purpose. I really thought that those practices were just super impactful. They were things that, I would go home and talk to William about, or talk to other students in the class, or even talk to my family about and say, these are practices that maybe not exactly what I'm learning in the class, but the hidden curriculum of it, the background noise, the different aspects of the class that he's instilling into the students. It's more or less the practices that he's using to teach the class, not about what you're learning.
Yes,
Yeah, I agree with
love it,
that for sure.
love it, love it. Thank you so much. So we're gonna continue with our framework. So we just did our reasons. So let's go shift to obstacles. The next, the O. And the obstacles, we all face challenges and obstacles. So my question to you, and then we'll start with Michael, is what almost made you doubt this path? If there was one, specifically talk about because choosing teaching today is a brave decision, right? Because when you tell somebody that I'm going to be a teacher or I'm entering the teaching field, a lot of times in our society is like, really? Why? So maybe you have stories when you tell somebody that you're going to be a teacher, maybe there's like some hesitation there. So share with us, some of the obstacles that you face during coursework or maybe just during this your journey in general.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, a massive obstacle that I face, and this is actually a specific example that I really grappled with, and it made me rethink the whole thing. Was I had a student that I was working with who was super difficult, just wouldn't listen, was very, he's rough on his classmates, was very insisting. He was very demanding. And having that student and working with that student and realizing how that dynamic worked with the rest of the class and where I stood in that dynamic, it kind of made me think, is this something that I want to go into? Is this something that is attainable? Is this something that I can really make an impact? But as the course went on and as our time together went on, I realized that this is something that you can directly insert yourself into and impact it and, show this kid the right way. And this, certain obstacles with this field, it's not necessarily, you know, how it's not necessarily the obstacle itself. It's how you overcome it and how you go about it and how you, work with what you have. And I feel like that was a big thing with education for me. That was kind of, at first I didn't realize is that it wasn't about overcoming for me. It was, oh, I don't have this exact resource or, oh, I have this right in front of me right now. What am I going to do?
Thank you. What about you, William? Any
I have
obstacles?
two things. So I'm going to start with one that happened extremely recently. In my first 2 weeks at my new position, we had a couple mentor teachers that work at the school. And one of them was talking about how they used to work at a school in New York City that was going to shut down if the tests were not passed. And that just made me extremely nervous because um, a part of what I love about teaching is being able to express my energy and build rapport and relationships with the students. And that made me like realize like, whoa, like that's kind of scary if I have to just test by a book. Like I don't want to be a robot at the front of the classroom. I want students to know that I care about them. But how do I do that when I have to just shove content in their face? So that was very scary. But another one, this is very personal. So I was working with my brother over the winter break, and he is a rising freshman in high school. And we were working on astronomy homework. Astronomy, you can say what you want about it. I think it's interesting, but he doesn't. So we were going over it, and he said to me, we were working through a problem, and I was trying to scaffold with him, you know, and he just said to me, like, why do I even need this? I can just AI this anyway. And I was like, oh man, that's scary. The fact that the mindset is changing from why do I need to know something because I can just find an instant answer that we don't even know is correct
Yes.
is very scary. And the
Yeah.
fact that we're trusting artificial intelligence is scary, very
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah. Wow, that's like another podcast right there. We could talk about how students view education and also AI right now. So I think that obstacle that you just mentioned about AI is a lot of teachers are facing that. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate you. So let's go to something that you see a lot that happens in our society or in the news or whatever it is. You hear a lot of negative stories about the teaching profession. Maybe the one that comes up consistently, like, oh, teachers are underpaid, they don't make enough money, or that school is closing, or the budget is going to be cut. You mentioned, William, about like, hey, if you don't pass that test, your school is going to close. There's just a lot of narrative that is out there, and which drives me crazy as a educator and as a professor. So my question to you is, that's to me, that's all noise, right? We have noise, and noise is never going to go away. How do you, go past that, or what do you do to at least say, yeah, I hear you, but hey, I'm still going to move forward. So, what do you think? We'll start with Michael.
So yeah, that's a very good question, and that's something that educators have to think of every day. How do I overcome this noise? How do I overcome the criticism of, "Oh, you're going to be a teacher," or, "Oh, I can't believe you're going to do that," or "It's going to be difficult to work with those kids." I feel like a big point of that is to just ground yourself and recognize why you're there. One thing I mentioned with the professor that I have at the University of Pittsburgh is that he reminds you why you're there. He reminds you why you're in that classroom, that we're all here to achieve this goal, and I think that's important. That's an important teaching practice that we can instill in ourselves. We can remind ourselves why we're there, the value of the kids in the classroom, and everything else, and that can help you overcome those obstacles. I think beyond that, getting yourself into a good situation while teaching, getting yourself into a good district can also help you alleviate those concerns. I feel like a lot of those concerns are kind of regionalized in a sense. I feel like other states obviously have other approaches to education. So I feel like a part of overcoming that is to get yourself into a good position with it while also finding your passion and finding something within education that you love, which for me, that might be special. That is for me special education, but for someone else, that could be math, PE, art, music, could be anything, anything.
I heard you mention passion. I love it. I think once you have that passion, right, you can go through any
Mhm.
challenges. Thank you. William, what about you?
I just think about the purpose. I remind myself that I'm always there for the kids. I want what's best for the kids always. So there's nothing that makes me happier. It's even if it's a little win, like some kid understands something, or even that maybe they never participate and they raise their hand one time. That feels like the biggest win ever. And like I know now that I'm in my classroom now, like seeing these kids grow day by day. And even if it doesn't, even if they stall, even if one day we're great, the next day we're not participating, the next day we have our head down, but then the next day we raise our hand one time. Amazing. So just seeing little successes and reminding me that my work, even though maybe every day might not be easy. And I think that one thing about me is that I don't know if I could live if every day was easy. It's the challenges in life that keep me going and keep me grounded. Um, and I know that there is going to be plenty of challenges in the classroom. There's no if, ands, or buts about that. People wouldn't stigmatize teaching, obviously the pay aspect, but people wouldn't stigmatize it if it wasn't hard. It is difficult. There is going to be challenges. There is going to be things that you will struggle with, but you need to work through those. And it's so worth it to see the the smile on a kid's face when they get something, when they're connecting with you. Like, can I tell a personal thing real quick about like a
Yes,
personal relation to this?
of course.
So I have a student right now. He's very advanced mathematically. He's very advanced. Like knows calculus in the sixth grade extremely well. He's very hyperactive. And today I was thinking of ways that I could get him to not. So what tends to happen is the material that we're working on is the right level for most people, but it's above his level or way below his level, way below. So I've been navigating ways to keep him engaged and not be distracting when he gets finished with the work. So whether that be, how about if you understand this really well, maybe you can work with your teammates, explain it to them, stuff like that. Or I had the grand idea today, which I'm so proud of myself for, is because of my rapport building that I did, I found out that he loves anime. He loves Dragon Ball Z. So I went today and I went to our school library and I checked him out a manga book for him to read when he gets finished with work. And just that little thing right there, the smile on his face when I showed the book to him, he was like, "Wow, I didn't even know you were listening to me when I said that." And I was like, "Wow." Like that just made me so happy to see him like enjoying the book. And I
Yeah.
was like, "This is awesome."
Oh, I love it. I love this both stories you both just shared. I mean, again, at the end of the day, it comes down to this. It's all about students. You talked about like the little wins. The small wins is what keeps us going. Yes, we're gonna have challenges. Yes, you're gonna have this noise. But what we do every day, when we influence kids to have that aha moment is incredible. Like you talked about it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. So the next framework from our roots is another O, which is overcome or overcame. Um, you kind of mentioned some of this earlier, but maybe you can just go a little bit deeper. Is that you obviously face challenges every time, everywhere you go with coursework or with working with students, and sometimes a doubt is going to come through your mind, or maybe you're not going to see it. I'm curious, what anchors you? What makes you? You mentioned about like it's all about the students and those little wins, but I'm curious, when you go home, and maybe when you're tired, do you talk to somebody that can anchor you, can ground you, and say, Michael or William, you know what? You're on the right path. You're doing great. And just like encourages you. I'm curious to hear that. We'll start with you, Michael.
100%. Yeah. I mean, so that you have to create a support system around you, right? You have to connect with other teachers in the building, people in the community, children's parents, children themselves, even your friends that you know who have nothing to do with your profession. You have to be able to vent out these frustrations and concerns. I mean, really, and you and I talk a lot. There's been times where we've left the classroom and we've called each other and said, "Oh my gosh, this so and so has done this or this has happened," and we discuss it and we break it down together. And I think that's so important to come over these obstacles is to have that friend in the profession, but also have the people not in the profession giving their opinions as well. I'm a firm believer in there's not a single problem that can't be worked out with the student one on one. You can talk to the student and voice out the concern and the obstacle that you're having because that student's probably having a similar issue. If you're having an issue with something in the classroom that's being done or being said by them, you can probably talk to them about it and they'll say, okay, I'm doing this because you're doing this. And you guys can kind of find an even ground. So I think it's really important when those obstacles arise to not only be communicating with the people around you and your family, friends, coworkers in the building, but to also be communicating with the students so that everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, love it. Thank you, Michael. What about you, William?
100%. I definitely resonate with what Michael said about the making sure the students are on the same page. So I wanted to mention that before I mentioned. I think I have three avenues. I have similar to what Michael was saying as well. I have family, and that's the number one person I talk to. Like if I ever have a tough day at work, I'm gonna tell my mom about it. Um, and then I have people that don't know anything about teaching. Like some of my friends don't know anything about the field of education, or I should say they have an elementary knowledge of it. So they've not haven't had firsthand experiences. And I'll go to them. Like for example, when I found out that my kid knew calculus, I went to one of my friend that knows calculus really well. I was like, I can't believe this. Like this is incredible. And then I have people that I work with where it's like, then that's like I don't work with Michael, but I feel like Michael understands the relationship that we have. And like I have that with a couple people that I work with currently. Where it's like we will get off of work and we will call each other immediately on the way home. Like one of my friends, I'm not gonna say his name, I was about to say it, excuse me, but I'm not gonna say it. So whenever we leave work, he pulls out, and if we ever have something to talk about that we didn't get the chance to talk, because we both live 40 minutes away. So he just calls me on the phone on the way home and we'll talk the entire 40-minute drive.
Yeah.
So we just have there's like, what my point of that was, there's three avenues. So my mom is like most understanding and like she'll just listen. She doesn't really have much to say. If I'm talking to my friend about something that's happening, it's probably like something that's really fascinating or like outlandish. And then my coworkers are just like anything. You have that deeper knowledge. You've been in these scenarios. You understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah. Wow. I love what you both just shared. I think we all need that anchor. We all need that support system because, yes, we're going to have challenges, but we need to overcome it. And then I think we can't do it by ourselves. And we need a family member, we need friends, or we need somebody to anchor us. But thank you so much. So we're going to keep rolling here. This is great. So the next one of our framework roots is T for transformation. I love this one because I think this is so powerful with this process, Michael and William, with this process, your experience that you're doing right now, student teaching or internship, even like your coursework, my question to you is that who are you becoming with this experience? How are you growing? Like, what does that transformation look like? We'll start with you, Michael.
If I could use one word to describe it, I'd say leader. I'm becoming a leader. I'm becoming a facilitator. I'm becoming the head. I'm becoming the guy that the students can rely on.
Yes.
I'm becoming a more reliable person. I'm becoming a more well-rounded person. I feel like working with kids and working in education has made me just understand the people around me more and the community around me more. That's been the big thing I've harped on this entire interview is community.
Hmm.
And I think that's the most important thing with this as well is like you come into education, you graduate from your school, you go into college and you're leaving your town that you're from for the first time. You're interacting with these new people and you're becoming a new person, right? I mean, I'm a totally different person from what I was when I was in high school in
Hmm.
transitioning into college.
Yeah.
And I feel like the biggest transformation with that is leadership. You become more accountable, you become more respectful, you become more able to command a room. And I feel like those are extremely important things that I've learned through going into this field. But if I had to sum it up in one word, like I said, it'd be leadership. It's created a better leader out of me,
Yes.
and it's just made me a more well-rounded person.
Love it. Thank you so much, Michael. Well, William, what about you? What's the transformation? Who are you becoming or who are you before?
I would say if I could describe it in one word, I would say evolving because I'm not there yet. I definitely will admit that I am becoming a lot more adaptable, a lot more open-minded, and I'm realizing a lot more that there are a lot of ways to understand a lot of things in life.
Yes.
Um, and you really need to the biggest thing for me that I feel like I have learned, we talked about coursework. The biggest thing for me that I've learned is how much of teaching that is not actually teaching. You're not actually handing someone a textbook or handing someone problems. You're really building those relationships. And I guess I never really saw what that looked like until about 3-4 weeks ago. Like, once I really started to build these strong relationships with some of my students, I'm like, wow, like you realize how much of a difference it makes. My One of my mentors at Breakthrough always says to me, "You don't know a student if you can't name 10 things about them," and that's something that always stick to my head. I always try to know 10 things about a student. If someone asked me about earlier, the same student that I was talking about, who is a little bit, he's ahead of things, is like he's a little distracting in class. What do you do? I said to that person, "Can you name 5 things about that person?" They're like, "No, I don't know anything about him." But I know I could tell you the whole list of things about him. I know he loves the Ravens. I know he loves Dragon Ball Z. I know a ton of things about him. Um, so I feel like the one thing that why I said evolving is because I know that I have so much more to grow. Like, I feel like I'm at a point now where I'm very happy with the progress that I made. And I'm very thankful for all the guidance that I've had and experiences that I've had. But I know that this is only the beginning of what's a great journey.
Yes.
So while I agree with leader, I don't think I'm there yet.
Yeah. But to me, you both are leaders. So Mike, William, and Michael, you guys are there already. I've seen you. I've seen you. But I appreciate what you said, William, about like I'm not there yet. I'm growing. That is a excellent mindset to have as a teacher, because as teachers, we're also learning and growing. We're not just done just because we have a certification to teach. It doesn't mean we're done. We're still learning and growing. So with that, I want you guys to think of it this way. Now, this is going to be a little bit maybe challenging. I want you guys to put yourself in a classroom. We're at 2026 right now. Let's say 5 years. Think of it like in 5 years. And I'll give you guys a few seconds to think about this. It's 5 years from now, and you have your own classroom, and paint the picture in terms of, what does that look like? Michael and William, what are you doing? What are your actions look like? Just share with me just quickly. I know this could be, you're thinking future, but I'm curious, what does that 5 year you look like in a classroom? Or it could be in a leader. Maybe you're a principal or assistant principal or something else.
So the
Going to
most important,
start. Oh, you could start. You could start. Excuse me.
Go ahead. Yeah, Michael.
sorry, I was going to say the most important thing in the classroom for me is accessibility. The professor I was talking about earlier at the University of Pittsburgh, a big thing that he really drilled home to me and really made me realize is accessibility. That a lot of the world isn't accessible, and because of the lack of access, not as many people are going as far as they can. People are settling for less than they are because they're not given equal access to things. And I think when students are given the most accessible environment, um, it's going to make them produce a lot better. So my classroom would be all about accessibility, but my classroom would also be about taking a role that you're uncomfortable with, stepping out of your comfort zone, right?
Hmm.
If a student's shy, I'm going to encourage that student to be the one who's the line leader, right? I'm going to have that student be the one who is doing a role where they're taking in a leadership position and they're influencing the class and their voice is being heard.
Yes.
I think that's all aspects of accessibility, but I feel like that's the most important thing. In my classroom, I'm going to harp that home. It's going to be accessibility. It's going to be step out of your comfort zone, do what you think is best for yourself, but make yourself uncomfortable. Put yourself in a position where you're not comfortable.
Yeah.
That's why I got into this field, from
Yeah.
putting myself and exposing myself to positions where I could be potentially uncomfortable. And I said, I'm willing to take the risk. And that's why I have the opportunity to be on this podcast today. That's why I have the opportunity to talk about the future of being a teacher. So that's something that I'm definitely going to harp home in my classroom, is that there's nothing wrong with being uncomfortable, and I'm going to make it accessible. I'm going to let you, I'm going to let you sink, but I'm not going to let you drown, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to let you struggle in the pool, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to let you drown. I'm not going to let you submerge under. And that's going to be my biggest teaching. And that's going to be the biggest thing in my classroom that I'm going to drive home.
Yeah. I can easily see you. I can have this vision right now in 5 years. If I come to your classroom, I can see a very highly effective classroom with accessibility. I can see like all kind of resources and support for students around your classroom. I can just see that. I've seen your work. So thank you for sharing. What about you, William? 5 years
I
from now,
agree.
what are you
I'm going to
doing?
start with the accessibility part that Michael said. I love the accessibility aspect of things. And I think that one thing I learned a lot from Professor at University of Pittsburgh is the little niche aspects that you don't even think of, like flexible seating. And already in my classroom right now, I have a ton of flexible seating and I've already seen it like, wow, it works so well in scenarios that you would never think it would work in. Um, and it makes such a difference. But another thing that definitely I feel like that I always am a big stickler of is being curious and asking questions. I feel like the common phrase is like, that's a dumb question. Nothing to me is a dumb question. I love curiosity. When someone is willing to learn about something, Michael touched on this about the discomfort. It makes me feel like they're willing to take on challenge. And I love, love, love to see that. When a student asks a question that wouldn't normally ask a question, that makes me so excited because that means they're buying in to education. They're finding the value of it. At the end of the day, n- education is the nucleus of everything. We need to learn to live. So without it, if there's plenty of students all over the place that don't see the value in education, but that's because, and at least in my opinion, is that they haven't had the right teacher to show them. And so I want to be that person that can be the leader in the front of the room that's very calm, cool, collected, but also silly and fun and expressive. So I want to make an environment where everyone feels included, but not just included, but safe in their own skin. It's okay to be who you are. You don't need to change yourself to impress others or put on any sort of front. You are who you are and make the fullest out of yourself.
Wow, so powerful. You both are incredible, incredible people. So we are on the last one of our framework of roots, which is S, stay. As you know by now, this podcast is, a stay teacher. So the question I have for you is that, first of all, if right now, if I had my own school, if I were designing my own school, immediately I'm going to hire Michael and William as my teachers immediately. So if you are administrator or even a teacher listening to this podcast right now, we always talk about we have these great teachers like Michael, like Williams that are coming to us, and they're passionate about this work, and we're recruiting them, and we have them. The key is not about recruiting teachers, but how do we keep them? So my question to you is like, what do we need to do? Myself included as a professor, let's say I am a principal or I work in a central office, a big district, and I need to keep you because Michael and William, you guys are amazing people. You guys gonna make a lot of impact, endless impact on students. So I need to keep you. I need you to stay teacher. So tell me, okay, what do we need to do as leaders, myself, principals, directors, superintendent, board members? What do they need to do to keep teachers like you? We can start with William.
Show me that you care about me. Like, I have a very, I feel like, inclusive and understanding philosophy of education. I want to make sure every student is heard, and I want to make sure every student knows that there are many ways to express themselves, whether that be their identity or how they understand, like just understand just general work. There's many point of views, so I want to make sure that where I'm coming from is understood. Show me that not just that, but you're able to support me with things like I feel like one thing I feel like I really struggle with in my current program is that my supplies are very lacking. So like I have very minimal supplies to work with. I had a very small budget to get everything I need for a classroom. And so show me that I can get basic support so I can do my thing and you can do your thing. I want to be supported by you. And it doesn't really take that much. Just make me feel like I'm valued
Wow. Yes.
and not just another person.
Yes. Love it. Support and value. Thank you so much. What about you, Michael?
I love what William said about the supplies. Specifically for me, like wanting to work with in a special education setting, that's a massive thing for me of why to stay a teacher. Is this district going to give me the proper supplies to actually implement my philosophy? Is this district going to give me the supplies to allow these kids to have the access? Right. I think that's a very massive point. I'm so glad you touched on that, William. Another thing for me is like he kind of said too, do they care? Do they really care about the purpose of education? Do they want these kids to move on later in life? Do they want these kids to find their niche that they can go to college and succeed in? Right. Because everyone has a passion, everyone has a path that they want to take. And I want to work in a district that supports that. And if I'm going to be a teacher and if I'm going to be one of 50 in a building and the only one that's going to support these kids to take their path while administration and other teachers in the building aren't, that's a big deterrent for me. So I feel like it comes down to not only administration, but the people around you. They're the people that want to make you be there. They're the people that make you want to stay a teacher because ultimately you're getting a small fraction of the kids in that class. The people around you are working with the other kids in that class. And right, you're getting your specific class. I'm talking a class like a graduating class. You're getting, maybe 30 students, but the other faculty in the building are getting the other, 60 or 90 or however many students may be in the school. So I think part of the purpose of staying a teacher and something that makes you want to stay a teacher is that everyone around you has a like-minded view. Everyone cares about the purpose of education, and everyone wants to advance these kids to the highest possible degree that they can possibly reach. And we do everything that we can to get these kids to the point where they feel educated and they feel equipped for life skills beyond our school district or beyond our classrooms. So that's really what it comes down to with education and staying a teacher. Is the most rewarding part is seeing the kid succeed, right? The most
Yeah.
rewarding part is what William mentioned earlier, seeing the kid who doesn't raise his hand, raise his hand.
Yeah.
Seeing the kid who you had in sixth grade, who you thought, this kid's having a rough time. And then 6 years later in 12th grade, he's going to a school like the University of Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? So that's what makes you want to stay a teacher. And if the district can give you the supplies and the support to actually make that happen, that's what makes you want to stay there. When they don't do that, it makes it extremely difficult.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yes. William, go ahead. You want to
Can I
add
say
something?
one more thing?
Yeah.
I have two thoughts that came to my mind as Michael was speaking. One thought was, show me that you're willing to make changes when needed. So not everything can stay the same over time. As we grow as a generation, things change. Show me that you're willing to start new policies that actually make a difference. If there's issues, please listen. We're the teachers. We're in the class. We know we are there. We know these kids. We build these relationships with these kids. We know what they need.
Yeah.
Please listen.
Yeah.
Um,
I love William. Thank you so much for adding that. My previous guest in episode 1 talked exactly what you said. Is listen. She talked about dialogue. Have a dialogue because we know we're teachers. We know what we need. We know what our students need. We know them, right? We know the family. So listen to us. Very simple, right? And I think we can all do that. So thank you for sharing. So we kind of finished. We did finish our roots framework. So, but I want to give you just the next few minutes to highlight. If I didn't ask you questions based on our roots framework, anything you want to share with us, anything you want to add about what we talked about, and we can start with either of you, Michael or William. Anything you want?
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I was just going to talk. I have one more thing for
Go
the
ahead.
principal
Yes, go ahead,
thing.
William.
I just think the biggest thing for me is that I feel like a lot of principles, or at least the concept is that when you go into administration, it's because you want to make more money. So that show me that you're not just in that to get a pay raise and you
Yeah,
genuinely care
yeah,
about what's happening in the district and you care about the kids that are working at your or they're go to your school. You're not just in it to receive however many grand pay raise, because life is not about money. And I feel like the biggest stigmatization behind teaching is you don't make a lot of money. But why is that what life's value is? It's really
yeah,
sad that it's that way, but it is how it is.
yeah. I love it. I love it. I want to make sure that we understand this. I love what you said, William. Um, I want you, if you can be very specific on that, right? So if a principal, because teachers become principals, right? Most of them are teachers. So be specific. So what do you need to see? Give me like 1 or 2 examples of what do you need to see from this teacher became a principal. Now, obviously now they have power. They are the decision makers. So now you're a classroom teacher. What are some of the specific things you mentioned about like listen to me and all that, but I want to make sure that you share with us. Are there any specific examples that you want to see consistently from a principal?
Talk to me.
Yeah,
Have conversations with me.
yeah,
I'm not an unapproachable person. I'm very approachable. I love to talk. Please talk to me. When you make decisions, inform me about them. Nothing needs to be confidential. If okay, there are things that need to be confidential. I
yeah,
understand that. But like
yeah,
when something is, let's say you're making some sort of policy change. Okay, talk to me. Talk to, honestly, all the teachers should have an input.
yeah,
But specifically, if you're talking to me, talk to me and give me your reason why, and let me tell you what I think too.
yeah,
Because my opinion should matter in your decision. Again, like I said, I don't mean to be seen like authoritative, but you're not there. You don't see what I see. You haven't built the relationships I built. You haven't put the time, you haven't put the effort to lesson plan, you haven't made worksheets, you haven't done any of this. Well, maybe you have in the past, but you're not now.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
because
haven't seen this.
exactly, because you have a different, as a principal, you have a different role, but you're in
Yes,
the classroom,
exactly.
what you're
So
saying.
just please speak to me. Just please, like, have conversations with me and make them be open. Both sides should be speaking. And then you said 2 things. Michael, did you have one?
Yeah, I actually really loved what Coach G just mentioned with everyone having a role. Everyone in that building has a role. The student's job is there to be educated. The teacher is the hands-on job that's educating the students, building the relationships, learning about the kids. And I call the principal, I mean, literally the doctor, but they're kind of like the doctor, right? They're the specialist. They're the one that's coming in if something needs to happen. If you need to advance something or escalate something to a higher level, the principal's going to be willing to take care of it. They're the one, they're going to oversee your work. They're going to make sure everything's going all right. I think a big factor, like William said, is talk. Be communicative, right?
Yeah,
Tell me what's going on.
yeah.
Tell me why you're making the change you're doing. Discuss it with me. And I feel like another big aspect of that though is good leadership, right? Any good leader is going to make, if they're going to implement a policy that's going to change the significant majority of the teachers or whoever they're presiding over's lives or jobs or what they're doing, communicate that. Have those meetings. Have that staff-wide meeting once a month in the auditorium and sit us down and say, listen, I'm thinking about this, this, and this. What do you guys think? Do you guys see eye to eye with me on this, this, and this? So I think that's really important is the communication aspect of it. And I ultimately, like you mentioned, most teachers or most administrators, most principals, most, superintendents, if not all, were teachers at one point in their career. So if you really break it down to the root and, you know, have that interactive dialogue with them and remind them and bring them back to when they were a teacher and kind of say, hey, I'm in this position right now. When you were a teacher, what did you experience with this? What would you have wanted? That can really build a strong relationship and make administration to teacher relationships extremely smooth.
You know what you're saying, both of you are saying, I'm just listening to you here, I'm so excited, is transparency, right? That's what you're saying, is transparency. Communication is all about transparency. Yes, you might have to make a decision that might not be popular, right? But if you're transparent about it, like Michael just said, say, hey, here's what I'm thinking about doing. Here's what we're thinking about moving as a district. And here's the direction that we want to go because of X, Y, and Z. And if you're transparent, yes, some teacher might disagree with you, but at least they're going to respect and honor that transparency. And that's what I'm hearing you say. Am I correct, William? You want to add anything?
I was going to add, with the transparency, be available. Like, it not only with the talk to me, make sure you make time. Michael mentioned the staff meeting, which I like that, but I don't think that gives everyone room to speak. Everyone deserves a voice. Everyone has something valuable to say. Everyone has their own perspective. So at a staff meeting, that can happen, but maybe make sure you have, like, I don't know, some point, it doesn't have to be every day you're available, but at least some points during the week where it's like, yeah, you want to pop in, talk about this? We have like 15, 20 minutes. Let's discuss this real quick. Um, just a small discussion not only would mean so much to me, as in like you're listening to me, you understand where I'm coming from, but just I think it would make a world of difference in policies that are made actually reflecting what student or what teachers see.
Yes. Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. So for the last one, and I'll just leave it kind of open ended here, is that imagine, a teacher just like you, just entering the field, listen to this podcast. Maybe, honestly, maybe they're not in this field yet, but maybe they're thinking about entering the field. Maybe they are. Maybe they are experienced teachers. I know you're new, you're entering the field, but what advice do you have for them from your seat right now for them to stay teacher or to enter the field that, hey, this is an excellent field and you're going to be successful, you're going to make a big impact? Just quickly, any advice for new teachers entering the field, college students, anyone?
Never give up. That's the number one thing I can say. Never give up. When it gets hard, it's not worth it to stop. It's never worth it to give up. You're going to have a hard day, no matter what you do for a career. You're going to disagree with your boss. You're going to disagree with something that's going on. You're going to disagree with the policy. You're never going to get paid enough. You're never going to have this. You're never going to have that, right? If we're so focused on chasing what we're never going to have, then our lives are going to be miserable. Chase what you can have. Chase what's attainable, right? We can make the difference for the next generation. You can be the voice for that kid who's having a rough home life. You can be the reason that that kid comes to school and eats lunch that day. And that might be his only meal for that day. You can be the reason that he gets fed. You can be the reason that these kids can have limitless opportunities. That's what this is all about. This isn't about the nevers. This isn't the I'll never do this. I'll never be able to do this. I'll never make this. No, it's about what we can do. It's about how we achieve those goals. Teaching is goal setting, right? I tell the kid in my class, I want you to read at a fifth grade level by the time you're done with fifth grade, right? I want you to be able to read 10 books by the end of this year. I want you to be able to do this. I want you to be able to solve this math problem. I want you to solve this algebra problem. It doesn't matter. No matter what grade we're in, even when we become professionals,
Yeah.
we still have goals that we have to set.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about to me. That's what education's all about. You're going to have that kid in your class who might be a little bit rough in fourth grade, but then you're going to watch him 10 years later and he's going to be graduating and he's going to be going on to college. You're going to say, wow, that kid was a real stinker in my class, but he's awesome now. He's a great kid.
Yeah.
And you play a role in that development. You help that kid become who he is. So that's what it's all about. You're going to have that rough day, right? William mentioned you're going to have that day where you get in the get in the car and you call your coworker right away and say, "Oh my gosh, why are we doing this? Is this really worth my time?" But then ultimately, you're going to realize that these kids achieve these goals that you set, and that's what it's all about. So if there's anyone listening to this and you're having doubts about education, don't look at the doubts and don't look at the nevers with it. Look at what's possible. Look at what you can do. Look at the future that you can set. Look at the way that you can impact your community. Look at the way that you can make people's lives better.
Yeah. Love it. Wow. You said it perfectly. So William, I don't know, is that a tough act to follow? What about you?
No,
What's your
I
button?
definitely have something. I have something 100%. And this is something I fall victim all the time. So I need to take my own advice. Stop comparing yourself to others because you're not going to live luxury. You're not. So don't think that you're going to be driving around like a Rolls Royce or anything like that, because that's not what you're going to do. That's not why you do this. So stop thinking that because someone else wants to go into business that they're better than you. Like, or someone else wants to be a doctor or an engineer. They're not better than you. Like, they are just as committed to what you or we both have things we're committed to. And that's our similarity. You're interested in the medical field, and that's fantastic. But that doesn't mean you have to belittle me because I'm going to make less money than you. That doesn't mean that you're smarter than me. Maybe you're smarter than me in the sciences, but in terms of can you teach a fifth grader math? No. So we both have our own sets of skills. So stop comparing yourself to others and thinking that just because someone else is doing something better than you, that they're more powerful or you're lesser.
Wow. You both are, again, like I said, I wish I had my own school. I would just hire you right now. You are just way ahead of the curve. And the reason is, and I love this framework that I'm using, roots, is you have deep roots. I mean, your whys are so clear and why you're doing this. So I just want to say thank you so much. And thank you for being brave enough to choose this profession. It's an exciting profession, and we need teachers like you. And I just want to say your story today inspired me, and I hope it inspired other people too. And to everyone listening today, please, please, if this moved you, share it. Share it with one teacher, at least one teacher, or a family member or community member, and just share it. That's all you got to do. And we want to make sure that the momentum continues. If you know somebody that you feel like, hey, this person has a powerful story similar to William and Michael, please contact us. Go to www.stateteacher.com and just reach out and we'll reach out to you, and hopefully we can have you on our podcast. So thank you again to Michael and to William. And I just love what you share, and I look forward to continually working with you. So I just want to say thank you so much. I can't thank you enough.
I have a quick question that I think would be valuable for any viewers looking to go into education
Yes.
and that are maybe finishing their careers in college. What are ways that you can continue to learn and advocate for education when you leave the college space?
Ooh, that's a good question. Say that again. That's a great question to leave our audience and our listeners. So say that
What
question.
are avenues that you can explore to not only learn more about and continue to be educated on, but also advocate for policies and issues that may be in education that are outside of the classroom, the formal
Yeah.
classroom in college?
Yeah. Love it, because I think anybody can do that, right? Our audience might not be interested in this field, but they can be an advocate for education for children. Wow. Thank you, William. That was a perfect way to finish our episode number 2. All right. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you on the next episode.